I know it's been a few months since the theatrical release of the movie, but I finally got around to watching Stop Motion. So if you're like me and either haven't seen it or haven't even heard of it until now, give it a Google just to see if it's something you might want to watch, because this is one indie horror that needs a lot more attention on it. Welcome to Sandwich Reviews. I'm the Talking Sentient Sandwich, and I am so glad I watched Stop Motion. But before I get into the review itself, I should mention that the movie had a leg up on other horror movies for me, just because since I was a kid, I've had an irrational fear of stop-motion animation. I don't know what to tell you, Wallace and Gromit just scared the crap out of me. Sometimes it is just plain old creepy, but often it's the jerky movements that sends my brain straight to the uncanny valley. And this movie didn't just use that valley to terrify me, it managed to create a new classification for it entirely. Something I can only describe as the uncanny chasm. The movie utilized that irrational fear in my brain so well that it will be impossible for other filmmakers to match it. There may be too many ideas and themes that contradict and bounce off of each other, but part of me thinks that could be there to enhance the confusion and overall unease. And that's why I love the horror genre in the first place. I enjoy the cathartic feeling of getting scared, but it's the deep and dark mysteries at the heart of every great horror movie that gets me invested. And Stop Motion is certainly one of those movies. Because of the narrative that I have to unpack myself, peeling back the layers behind the meaning, my attention was squarely on the story and screen, scanning every corner for hidden clues and metaphors. And with me focused so heavily, I was perfectly primed for the scares. Not that there were any sudden loud sounds to create cheap jump scares or anything, but instead, there's a slow building of tension and suspense that increased all the way up until the end. So if you enjoy methodical and sometimes surreal horror movies, you need to check out Stop Motion. But with that said, let's get into some spoilers, because I want to talk about what even happened. There are plenty of surreal moments that I will discuss later, but first, I want to bring up the one flaw that I noticed. Because the broad strokes that the film goes for tended to work in the moment, but became confusing as soon as you thought about all the differing ideas the movie brought up. Having that many themes juggled within the narrative can make it messy. As I was watching the movie, it was easy to get invested in both thematic storylines of a tortured artist and the more heavy theme of assault, but I assumed they would mesh together in some way by the end, and that just doesn't happen. Not that that ruined the movie for me. In fact, as I said before, it was that confusion and guessing at every step that made me want to keep watching to the end. It's what made me want to talk about the movie in the first place. But until I give this movie a rewatch and discover some hidden secret that connects every loose thread, those two ideas that the movie focused on were too inconsistent. Which sucks, because the film begins and you can immediately see how they were going to tackle the idea of a tortured artist. Someone who simultaneously has talent and also feels like they are an imposter with no good ideas. That's a feeling I'm confident everyone has felt in some way, shape, or form. Sure, it sounds melodramatic, but when it came to the pressure the main character had from her mother or the way other people would try to steal what she was making, that paranoia was depicted perfectly. Of course, the delicate subject of assault is also covered really well, but it does come off more ambiguous. Honestly, I'm not even sure that's what the movie was going for. Although, when the film says the Ashman is going to touch the main character, there's not much else my mind goes to. But those hard-hitting themes weren't even what made the movie shine. For me, it was the memorable puppets and the way stop motion was implemented into the production, making the movie worthy of its title. Plus, there was some body horror that was so intense, I had to look away from the screen. I mean, that kinda happens pretty often with me, so that's nothing special. But for as much as I hate to see it, gruesome body horror is phenomenal when done right, and this is done extremely well. Combining that brutality with stop-motion objects created a viewing experience that I had a hard time watching. but we'll have an equally hard time forgetting. And that wasn't just the stuff where they showed both live action and stop motion in the same frame. Whenever they showed something stop motion, even if it was only for a second, it was designed to put the audience on edge. That comes from the overall construction and presentation of those sequences, but the concept at the foundation of it is still really good. For the majority of the movie, we see this somewhat real-looking doll who starts out creepy, then only gets more unnerving as the movie goes on. Essentially being an insert from the main character, the only thing the doll does is run from the Ash Man, who is an equally terrifying and intriguing character who has a fantastic design. I wanted nothing more than to turn the TV off and to never think about it again, but I needed to know more. What even happened on the third night? And after analyzing every memory I have of this movie, dissecting every possible clue, I can confidently say that I have no idea. The Ash Man takes who you are? I don't know. But it was that bewildering uncertainty from the movie that has kept it in my thoughts almost every night as I'm trying to go to sleep. With the entire story leaning into ambiguity, the ending was allowed to go full-on surreal, putting the main character in her own production, running from the Ash Man, and truly making her the stop-motion puppet. I couldn't tell you if it was fear, intrigue, or a mixture of the two, but my eyes were glued to the screen for that entire sequence. But after looking back, despite how prestigious the indie film comes across, I'm just not quite sure what the filmmakers were trying to say. And that may be the perfect way to recommend this movie to you, because together, I think we can figure that out. Leave a comment and let me know what you think. And as always, thanks for watching. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe for weekly videos and reviews, and enjoy a delicious sandwich.